Now if this were an AI cube, you'd be done. But in actuality, what we did is the first AI solve just took this and reduced this whole thing into a corner. So if you can visualize this, everything we just did, this whole thing is going to become a corner, and now we have to reduce our edges. So this has to be reduced with these guys over here. Once I've reduced these guys, then these will become the new edges. So just like this is an edge and these were corners to begin with, corner and edge, now this whole thing is a corner and the edge has to be this and these two together. So now the question is, on your 6x6 or on your dome cube, how do you reduce these guys? Well, it's really just a matter of positioning that's going to happen with this. So as we're looking for windows of opportunity, what we're going to do is we're going to pull it over like this. So I see this, well, let's see if I can find an easy one here. Nothing's jumping out, but you see this orange? I want to move this over to match with an orange over here. So I got to move an orange piece to here, and that's either going to come from up here somewhere or down here. Now see this guy over here? This orange, if I move this guy to here, I can RID this to here. It's always going to be on the opposite side. So this will come to here. So RID, RD. Okay, so this, if I move him over here, will match up with this. Now what I'm going to do is after I move this to here, I'm going to RD so that this ends up down here, then I'm going to bump it out of the way and then move it back to bring these guys back to its original position. But I might as well put another one in, a red one, to come into here so that this red one can match up to it. So in order to find that, I need to find a red one here that's in this position, which is right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way for now because this is going to bump into this place once I move it out of the way. So this orange will come to here like so. I'm going to RD it until I have this orange and blue down here to be replaced with this. So we do RID. Don't see it there yet. RID. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to take the bottom one, move it into place, substitute with this. Now you see this red one here. I'm going to RD it again until this red finds its way to here. And then this will move it in its original configuration. RID. Okay, I can tell that this is in its original configuration. This red is now here, and I simply move it back, splat. So not only did I get this back, I've now placed two right next to where they're supposed to be, which is here. So let's see if there's another one of opportunity. Here's another orange one. Can I move an orange one? There's this orange one over here. So I'm going to move this one into this position to bring it up to here. RID. So this orange is here, so now all I have to do is take this and go splat, so this is in this position. I'd move it down here, but I want to replace it with a green one over here. Do I have a green one down here that would find itself in this position? Let's see, green, aha, this one. And you can see this is in the correct configuration place to come up to here. So same thing. Let's go ahead and take this orange, move it into here. Now move it down until the orange and yellow is down here. RID. Not yet. RID. There it is here. Bump it out of the way. This green one is in its place. One more to bring it back. 3 RIDs will always get you back in the original position. So I just did 2, now this is the third one. So now this is here, and I simply move it back. Now this green one is in place. I keep doing it like that. How about this yellow? Well, this yellow can make it to over here. But I have to find a green one to replace it, so is there another green one on the bottom here? I don't see any offhand, so I have to find one up here that I can use. Well, I can use this one, maybe this one. So let's move this one down here because maybe I can use that. RID, and again. RID. Okay, so there's this over here, but is it the right green one in the right configuration? And the answer is yes, because it's on this side, which will come up to here. So let's bump it out of the way first. what I'm going to do is move this into here. So now I've got this yellow and blue. Let's move this down here. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. There's my yellow and blue. Just had to do it once. Now I slide this over in its configuration. This will move up to here. Doing it 2 more times. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. And again. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. Here's the green over here. Move this back. This is all in, and now this is in. So now we just keep following suit. I've got this yellow, I've got this green, I've got a blue over here. Now what yellow is going to come into this position? Well, it's going to be in this position here, and that would be this yellow right here. So I'm going to take this and move them over to here. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. Okay, so this yellow will easily slide into here. The red is being batted out. Is there a red one down here that I could use? I don't see any offhand. Now these are not ones that I can use. These are actually going to be the final edges. So let's find a red one that I can maybe use. Well, this one is stuck up here, so I might be a little stuck. Or maybe not. Maybe we can use this red one. So R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. So let's check it out. This red one will work because, as you can see, it's on the correct side. It's over here, which means it will come up to here. Now, by that token, this red one won't work. This will not end up here. This will end up over here. So I'm going to keep this out of the way on this area here before I put it here. Move this in so this yellow and red is here. Move this down to this area. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, and again, R-I-D-I, R-D. There's my yellow and red. Move this guy in. This red will end up over here. R-I-D-I, R-D, D, and we simply move it back. So there this is in. And that's it. I keep looking for windows of opportunity here. Okay, so now we have all of these in here. Looks like I probably just have a couple more to go, and I think this yellow and orange, these are the ones that have to find their way home. And I believe my reductive process should be just about done. Okay, so this yellow can come into here. I've got to find another, this orange rather can come into here. I need to find another yellow, which will be this one. So let's bump this out of the way. Move this in. Yellow and orange will come down to here. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D. Bump it out of the way. Substitute it with this. Move it up. R-I-D-I, R-D. Oop. R-D. D. Okay, and move it back. So now what we have is we have it reduced. Everything should be in. So now these are now our corners here. These are now our edges, and these are our centers. So now we just do one final AI solve to get the rest of this in, and it's done exactly the same way. So this is how you sequentially do an AI solve with larger and larger puzzles, including the Chimera puzzle or anything else that you might see. So just to go through that process, I see orange and yellow. Orange and yellow here, plop this in. You can see it's the wrong one, but this one is the correct one. So now I have this 1 by 2 bar. I'm going to move this top side like so. Splat. Now that I have this, I'm looking for blue and orange, but I want to get blue and yellow rather, but I want to get the yellow one correct. So where's my blue and yellow? Right here. Now I want to move this up. Now first off, is this the correct one? It is, as you can see. I'm going to move this up like so that I can match it with the yellow. Let's get this back in. Now I'm going to move this around until this can find its way to a yellow. Nope. Okay. I'm going to take this yellow and put it over here. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, and again. Okay, now I'm going to take this. So this is just another AI solve that I'm showing. This comes to here. Okay, now I'm going to take this and move it to the middle. just going to move it down like this. I'll casually put this one back in. I'm going to actually move this again because I could see it's partially solved. Okay, I just want to bring this top side. Now that I have this in the middle, I simply move it in like so. So now I have my equivalent of a 1 by 2 by 2 bar with this over here. So let's move this top side. And now to get this one in, I need to do the yellow and blue and solve it completely. Here's a yellow and blue. Orange and blue rather. Here goes that color blindness. So what I need to do is I need to move this so that it's up like so. Okay, let's just move this back in. And now I need to match this up with an orange right here. So move this down, whoop, so that it's in the middle. This moves in. So boom, now I have my first completed 3 by 3 by 3 side. So that's okay. So now I look at the second one. Okay, shouldn't be too hard. What I'm going to do is I've got the yellow and red, which appears to be here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to move this down. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-D. Okay, that's down like so. Now I'm going to take this, move this like so, and wind this to where the yellow and red can match up with this. R-I-D-I. It'll be easier just to move it in that way. R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, whoop. Well, this happens to not be the right one, but that's okay because I've got this one up here anyway. No harm, a little bit of a foul. Okay, so I've got this up, so now what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the red and the orange. Here's a red and orange. Is it the right one? Yes. So I'm going to move this up so that I can match it to an orange down here. Okay, find an orange here. I don't have any oranges I can use here. I do have this one that I could use, so what I'll do is let me bump it out of the way, take this, move this over to here, R-I-D-I. This is so much easier than the supercubes because I've got all these equivalencies I can use. So it's fairly quick to get the first two. Boom. Okay, this red and orange is here. Let's move this to the bottom. Okay, upon doing that, I'm going to take this, wheel it into here, then take this 1 by 2 by 2 bar and move it to the top, freeing this up over here so I can put my first one back in. R-D, splat. Okay, so this is still in. I just need to do the red and blue here. Here's the red, all fine. I just have to put in the next blue. So I'm going to move the blue so that it's facing up. Okay, so where's the blue? Here's the blue over here. I move this like so. Now I move it to the middle. R-I-D-I, R-D, R-I-D-I, R-D, and again. R-D. Move this back. Okay, I got to take this, move it into here without destroying this. The way that I would do that is let's take what I want to be over here. Let's move it right next to it over here. I'm just placing it. I could do a corner swap, but nah. And maybe I should have. So many ways this can turn. Turn, turn, turn. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. In order to make this happen, move it in, then move it one more over. Now do a corner swap. And when you do the corner swap, then you can move it back in, because when you do a corner swap, this will be over here, this will be over here, and then this can be where it needs to be here, this can be where it needs to be here. So once again, when you have a situation, this is in, and you want this to come here, and say this to come here, move it in, then move it one more and do an adjacent corner swap. That'll be 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, turn the puzzle, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R. And now that you've done that, you just move it once, this is in and this is in. So now we just have two more to go, and I'm going to do it exactly the same way. Again, get your corners in. So red and orange will come over to here. So I've moved this in, now we're going to move this top side and bring it back here. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. Now I'm going to do it again because I see this red and green will match up with this red and green over here. So RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. Now this is all just positioning, bang. So you can see that this corner area is matched with this edge and this edge, but not this. This is matched with, this corner area is matched with this edge and this edge, but not this. So I'm going to take this and move this, rotate it to where it can come in line with this guy here, RI, DI, R, D, R, D. So it's an efficient AI solve in that there's no mysteries to it. You'll always be able to solve it. You don't have to figure your way through things. This needs to come here, and this needs to come here. And then everything will be in. So the way to do that is you move it in, then move it once more, do a corner swap. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, turn the puzzle, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R, then move it once more, and everything will be in. So this is in, this is in. Now these two, they're no longer next to each other, so I'm just going to put them next to each other. But that's how you get all the corners in, and that's how you can adjust it like that. Now the next part, the last part, is simply doing that algorithm that I talked about to put those in. Okay, so now I have this in a position of 3 cycle. This orange can go here, this can go here, and this green can go here. So I'm going to put 2 in. So this to go here, which won't do anything, but this will go here, which will be in, and this will go here, which will be in. So let's do that algorithm now with this. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and again. Okay, now move it from here, down this slice, to the left side. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and you move it back. Now go ahead and do it twice here. D, RI, DI, R, D. Move it from left to the right, and just do it once. And move it back. Now this goes twice again on the right side. R, D, RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. Now we move this to UI, do it twice again. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and now we move it back. Okay, so what we have is we just have these two to go, and our second AI solve is done. I'm just going to move this into position here. Now we'll move this down. Okay, so this green will go here, this yellow will go here, this yellow will go here, and it'll be done. So once more, really quickly, twice. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and again. Move it from this slice to the left side, do it just once. RI, DI, R, D, and move it back. Now from the left, RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D, and again. Move it to the right, do it once, one cycle, and move it back. 2 cycles on the left, right rather. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. move this up, move this with the UI here, and then 2 cycles, and we bring it back. And one more. Oops. Okay, sometimes that happens. All you got to do is pop it back in. Okay, not too shabby. And go splat, and it's done. So our reduction is done. If this were a chimera, you'd be done with this part of it. If this was AI 6x6, you'd be done with that too. You just have to do your 2x2 solve basically. So what I'm going to do is get all of my yellows up. R, U. Alright, what I'm doing is I'm just doing, okay, now this one gets rotated up. This is just a very quick last layer 2x2 solve. Alright, DIR, and that part is done. However, we still have this portion, and that's the added extra portion of the dome cube. And how do we do that? So now we're going to cap it all off with getting all of the dome ready. So the way that I'm going to do that is I have to bear in mind what was affected by what movements. So as you recall, just this middle one here affected the top. Rather, this top one affected this top over here, the middle affected this middle, and then the bottom affected everything below, so I have to coordinate that. So I'm going to start getting all the whites in. So what do I have here? Well, I just need to put a middle white over here. So where's a middle white? Right over here. So what if I just went like this? Splat. Move it here, we can see that all these whites are fine. So I'm going to now move this up and out of the way. Now, it probably would be better if I move these to the side. So I'm going to, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to move this over here, bump it out of the way, twice actually, and then move this back. So that put this nicely over here. So what do I have here? Well, I've got two. Do I have two white ones? I do over here. Do I have one here? Well, I've got some over here. So I'm going to take this, and actually, let's take this and move this here. Now I can do this the old-fashioned way and do U, R, UI, RI, turn, 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 and turn. Haha, it worked. So that brings us over here. So I'm just doing a middle layer algorithm. So where was I? Okay, so I wanted to move two white ones in here. And I was looking to see where I might get two white ones. Well, here's two white ones here. So I'll go like splat. Well, let's focus on this. Or maybe this. I just need to move one white one over here. Check over here. Nope. I'm going to do it like this. Move this one white one like so. And I want to move that into here. So I'm just going to move the top one. Splat. So it's kind of a fun finish to it. But anyway, you can see this over here. And I'm going to take this. And let's move it into this position over here. UI. And I'm just moving the centers here, kind of disregarding the other parts. Turn, 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 and down. There that is over here. I just have to be careful as to which layers I'm moving, because I can move this up like this, I can move it up like this, so you can see the center moved with that one. Okay, what else we got? I've got these two over here, and I'm going to move that into this guy over here. So to move these two, I'm going to move both of these layers like so. And now this should be all white, which it is. Move this up here, and now I'm going to do the same algorithm to bring this to here. UI, LI, U, L, U, FI, UI, F, something like that. Anyway, that's in, that's in, that's in, and that's in. So what do we got here? Well, that's not one, that I can do a whole lot with. Okay, I need 2 white ones here. I just so happen to have 2 white ones here, so these guys will both move, giving me 2 white ones here. I've run out of space in the middle, so I'm just going to move this up to here and see what else I've got. I think I destroyed one of them by accident. Okay, I need 2 white ones over here. Let's get this out of the way, and then I'm going to move this one like so. Okay, here and here. So move it like thus. Now I've got this over here. Okay, so these 2 are now spoken for. I've got these 2 to go. I should have another almost white one here somewhere, right here. I need to move 1 white one to here. I think that's going to come from this guy, so I'm going to turn this around. So this is a whole new level of doing a 6x6, just moving the middles. Okay, I'm going to move 1 white one into here, so that's just this top that's going to move. And there's my white one. Now I need to move one over here. So this is going to have to move. I'm going to bump these 2 out of the way. And let's go ahead and move this down like so. I have to find 1 more white one to go to here. That's going to come to here. So these, well, nope, we're not quite done there. But in any case, I'm going to move this over to here and move this so that it's all the way down here to move that white one in. Splat. This is the most unique solve situation that I've ever had in a puzzle, and can only get with this kind of a puzzle. Move the top one, and now that white one's in. Okay, so I am starting to run out of real estate a little bit. What I'm going to do is move this up here, which leaves me 1 more white one to solve, and that's over here. So first thing to do is move the 1 white one from here, and that's going to be from this guy. Well, let's see if I happen to have one here. I don't. So I'm going to take this top part, move this top part of the dome here, move this down, being wary of all the other white ones. Move this here, and splat. Now I just need these 2, so let's find the one that has 2. Hopefully it's not dispersed right over here. Alright, so what that entails is I've got to move this one. Let's be aware of where we're at. Okay, I need to turn this one upside down. Okay, let's make sure there's another white one here. No. Okay, so this one, this needs to go where this one is. So I'm going to move this like so and bring this down here. Now the problem is I've got this one white one buried. So I like this one here and I like this one here, but I've got to move this white one out of the way, and that's it. Yeah, I kind of got myself stuck there. Okay, so how this is going to work is I have this white one moved up. Now I'm going to double turn this over here and move it like so. Good. 1, 2, 3. These 2 are ready to join this guy over here, and 1 more like this. Brings the last of the white ones, so I can just take this over here. Well, no, move this over here. Bring this white one up, and this chrome is done. All these are black, so it doesn't matter where I put it. And there it is. So taking a look, all of this is solved. All of this white chrome is done. And that's finished. So this combines a parity-free 6x6 solved along with this really unique process over here. It's not particularly difficult, it's just fun getting them in the right position and putting them where they're supposed to be. So there you have it, another brilliant creation by Tony Fisher, the Dome 6x6. It really helps demonstrate where the real centers and the real edges are. A lot of fun to scramble, a lot of fun to solve, and highly recommend it should you ever have an opportunity to buy a puzzle like this. Anyway, before I break it, thanks for watching.